Some books now. Tomorrow, former cabinet member and ANC cadre Charles Nqakula will launch his book, The People's War, Reflections of an ANC Cadre, at the Castle of Good Hope in Cape Town with his wife, Minister of Defence, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula. Just before he travels to Cape Town, though, we thought it would be great to have him here in studio to talk about the book and other matters relating to it. It's so good to see you. We were saying it's been years since we've had you in studio.
It's really been years. Yeah. It's really been years.
Really lovely. Congratulations.
In fact, the last time I did an interview with the SABC was outside of this building. That was when Manto Shabalala passed on.
Amazing.
And I was appointed to be the spokesperson of the presidency on that matter.
Yeah.
That was the last time I was
That was the last time, and that was many years ago.
That's right.
And now we know what you've been doing. You're a busy man writing your autobiography. Although you started in 2013, you were telling me. So, but it takes a lot of work.
Takes a lot of work. And I was not only writing this particular story, I also wrote a political novel. Yeah. And I thought it was going to be the first one to be published. But my publisher preferred this as the first venture.
Fantastic. How is it feeling for you right now? I mean, are you happy? Do you feel that you've depicted your life in the way you wanted to? I mean, it's very difficult to be your own critic. I suppose you are your biggest critic, but the final result, are you happy with it so far?
I'm happy with the final results, but I do want to say that it is not really my entire story.
Yeah.
It's part of my story. But there are many other cadres whose names are reflected in the book, who I collided into within the context of the struggle. I also tell bits and pieces of their own stories.
Yeah, and that's what's so lovely about it. And I mean, you also reflect on a lot of things through your life, your travels, your journeys, your chopping and changing positions within the liberation, your living overseas, coming back into the country, moving into cabinet, being a part of the NEC. I mean, you have got such a rich political history. But it's something that I think that before we even head into that is to talk about your family life, because you've really suffered a very great loss of late with the loss of your son. Condolences to you and your family. How are you all holding up?
Thank you very much. Oh, it's still affecting us.
Yeah.
It's still affecting us greatly. I suppose that part of my healing was putting in a chapter in the book that relates to him. And of course, I also add in that particular chapter Fidel Castro.
Yeah.
Because I had the opportunity to go and attend his funeral. But you see, this thing about my son keeps going up and down, and we have a ritual at home where we visit his grave on a fortnightly basis.
Yeah.
Now, the other children at home were both his siblings, but also his friends. And now and again, we pick up that they are unhappy having, remembered this or that aspect of his life.
Yeah.
But personally, what I've been trying to do, I hope I'm succeeding in this, has been to remember, the very funny aspects of his life, because they were. But he himself, as I said at the funeral, I did not know how I held up at the funeral.
I know. I don't know how
I was asked to speak there. What I said there was that we did not know him. We only knew him after, so many people started talking about him.
Yeah.
But it was part and parcel, of our healing process to hear about who he was.
Yeah. Well, again, we wish you condolences and keep strong and keep on going. And I think with a book like this, it could be therapeutic as well and help a lot.
That's
and
right.
when you look at some of the reviews that have been coming out, I mean, I know the book is only coming out tomorrow. In fact, I'm not even holding a proper copy. This is the sort of unpolished version of it that I have.
Yeah.
Some of the reviews, and Dr. Matobi Mutlaotse says that your book reflects the country's current crisis through the lens of history. And I think that it's a very poignant statement to make. How do you feel that this book does that? And do you think this is a good analysis of it?
Yes, it is. It is. The first thing I did was to remember, and this is the beginning of the book, one of the most inspiring experiences of my life when I was chosen as a delegate, invited in fact as a special guest to the Kabwe Consultative Conference. So that's where I begin, and then I try to do a scan of my life until, of course, the current situation.
Yeah.
And I compare the current situation, you know, to the former years of the ANC, which we called the People's Parliament, because indeed it clearly represented the interests of the people of South Africa at that time. But we've entered a period in the ANC when there are so many wrong things that are happening in the movement. So I also try to dissect, you know, this particular period in which we are in as my postscript, so to speak. I had completed the book when I decided in January this year that I needed to put in a postscript, because in that way it closes the book beautifully if you start with the consultative conference in Kabwe in 1985, and we are headed towards the conference, National Conference of the ANC in December this year. I thought, therefore, you know, this Kabwe conference was the beginning, and as far as I'm concerned, this conference has to signify how the ANC moves forward.
Yeah. I also find, I'm not going to get too much into the technicalities and of what's happening today because it's because of time constraints, but nonetheless the title of the book, The People's War, it's quite incredible how this is almost reflecting what's happening in this day and age as well. I mean, we're seeing people fighting against things that they're not agreeing with. You did exactly the same thing. Your life was dedicated to the People's War. That's my interpretation of your title, but I mean, maybe you can tell me more. Why?
It is. You know, the concept of a people's war was one of the issues we were discussing in 1985 going to the Kabwe conference, the People's War. Because what had happened in South Africa at that point was that people themselves started rising against the racist regime. And there was war. I mean, South Africa was at war, but at war with itself, because it was South Africans that were fighting against one another. Yeah. One grouping trying to retain, you know, the process of the of apartheid, and the other group trying to liberate the countries in order for us to usher in democracy in South Africa.
Now, just as a closing note, because as I say, we don't have time. You're launching this book tomorrow. Many people will have the opportunity of reading it. But what will we learn about you that we don't necessarily already know in this book? Do we go on a very personal journey with you?
I hope there's quite a number of things that people will learn about me. But as I say, I'm only one of the many bricks that I bring into the book to build a story. So you will not only learn about me, you'll learn about the other people, you know, who are unknown, completely unknown, but they made a tremendous contribution to the struggle for freedom in South Africa.
Well, I wish you the best of luck with this launch. Heading off to Cape Town, it's a book that'll be on shelves all around the country as of tomorrow or Wednesday. The People's War. It's Charles Nqakula's reflections of an ANC cadre, and talking to us about this is the man himself, Charles Nqakula. Thank you very, very much for being with us here on the program.
Thank you.